By now, this must have become a familiar picture for you, familiar video for you, although it is pretty painful, quite heart-wrenching, but then this has to be accepted. That is the collapse of the Morbi suspension bridge. Morbi has been one of the most unfortunate towns one can imagine, largely because it was in this city, that was the city which actually experienced a devastating flood because of the burst of a dam, 1979. And some of you may imagine it. It was one of those incidents and disasters that became the inspiration for the making of one movie, Satyam Sivam Sundaram, as well, on a dam burst. Morbi is essentially a small town on the Machchhu River. It was a small town, and also it has been a bridge, a suspension bridge on this part. That is in Gujarat. Machchhu Dam is the one that we talked about that collapsed in 1979. Now, when you take a look at the manner in which the bridge collapsed in a single instance, that leaves a lot of things unanswered. What is usually expected in incidents like these is that in such type of bridges that one or two suspension cables give way. That is we are talking about one or two suspension cables. These are the ones that go on to break, and the bridge breaks and hangs over the rest of before the rest of the structure collapses. Now, with respect to Morbi, everything happened in a flash because it is generally a slower process. The sudden collapse suggests that most or all of the suspension cables were weak or corroded. Now, this is possible considering that this was a very old bridge, but we are also being told that the whole bridge has been recently repaired. So, was it actually repaired or was it some other case? In Morbi, the vertical cables seem to have snapped entirely from the deck at one end. That was on the last end of it, sending part of the unsuspended deck and those on it plunging into the river. It could have been due to straightforward structural damage like material fracture or a failure of a joint that led to a cascading process of failure. That means one after the other, after the other, after the other. Such type of suspension bridges like Morbi, which are hanging on cables. If you take a look at it, these are the cables. These are the cables which hang this deck, which hang this structure. These are the cables. So they are susceptible to other forms of failure and are common to other bridges as well. Like there can be resonance, and resonance can go on to allow it to collapse, or it can be because of aeroelastic flutter. Aeroelastic flutter means that means if strong winds go on to blow, then that can go on to allow the bridge to sway, and the swaying of it will go on to allow it to collapse. And resonance means that is when the people go on to bang their leg rhythmically, or maybe when there is a troop that is moving on it, and let's say a large troop, this resonance can actually send a bridge to topple at all. However, this has been the case of to an extent of Morbi Bridge, but not all bridges collapse in the same manner. Different type of bridges collapse because of different reasons. These bridges, which are valuable communication and different valuable forms of communication, and different types of bridges are made for the purpose of connectivity. That is connecting one part of the country with another part. But why is it that all the type of bridges are going to be made in a different manner and with different materials? Now, in order to understand it, you must understand that bridges are going to be a variety of types. Based on utility, they can be land-based bridges or bridges across waterways. Based on the superstructure, it can be beam bridge. That one type of bridge that you're going to find beam pillars into the water, that is a beam bridge. That's the most common of them. Truss bridge, arc bridge like that of Chenab, suspension bridge like that of Golden Gate, one of the most branded bridges that way. And it can be masonry bridge as well, timber bridges as well, based on material. Brick, that means made of wood. Masonry bridge is made of bricks. Metal bridges as well, made of iron steel, like Howrah Bridge in this case. Concrete bridges, composite bridges, and now it is going to be glass fiber bridges as well. Now, when you take a look at the structure of it and the design of it, you will going to find it pretty interesting as well. That is going to be an arc bridge. This is going to be arc bridge. That's going to be cantilever bridge. In this case, this is going to be a beam bridge that we talked about. Is the most common type of it, where the deck is there and then there are pillars. It is on these pillars that the whole of the deck rests. Suspension bridge is going to be one of these pillars, very, very strong, and that it is going to be suspended in this place. Cable stayed bridges are going to be, of course, where the load is going to be completely transferred, and there are different cables which hold it. And that is the way that the bridge is going to rest in this place. The most common example of it is going to be associated with, when you're going to take a look at the pictures, you will going to understand it as well. That is, the arc bridges are going to be one, beam bridges, cantilever bridges, truss bridges, and untied arc bridges. This is going to be one of those types of bridges, and that is, you know, that it's a familiar picture of a Golden Gate Bridge in this case. That is the nature of what we call it as a suspension bridge. These are the two cables. This is the true picture of what we're going to be calling it as of Golden Gate Bridge. Suspension bridge, that is going to be the deck associated with it. Taking a look at another picture of it, suspension bridges are going to be like that. These are the two pillars, and it is on these two pillars that the entire of the load, that the whole of the load of the bridge goes on to rest. And these are the cables which are responsible for holding the bridge. It is suspended on those type of materials. The best picture of it in this case is going to be that of Golden Gate Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge in the United States, which is actually a brand of such type of a bridge in the whole of the world for it. That is the nature of it. You may have seen it in a variety of type of movies, including the most recent one that was made on a tsunami. In this case, in India, we do going to be having such type of a bridge, and that is going to be called by the name of Dobra Chatti. This is Dobra Chatti Bridge, and of course there is going to be a convoy associated with it. It is built on the Tehri River. On this side is going to be the dam, that is the Tehri Dam. It is going to be on this side is going to be the dam, and this is where exactly the Tehri River goes on to flow. That's the way that the Tehri River goes on to flow. It is one of the most scenic bridges one can go on to imagine in the whole of the country, and it's a 725 meter. That means almost a quarter of a kilometer in its length. And at night time, it is a sight to behold. It is actually a sight to behold in the evening of it, and it is tourist attraction in this place as well. This is the way that the suspension bridge is going to manage themselves. There is going to be a tower that is for the purpose of holding the load, and these are the cables that go to hold it all in all, and the load is completely transferred in this place. That is the anchorage. This is going to be the anchorage. That's going to be the deck, and these are going to be the pairs. Of course, this is going to be the main cable, and there is the suspender cable in this case. That's the way that the design is made. Cable stayed bridge means it is only the cable. It's only the cable that goes on to hold the whole of the bridge. That is, the deck is going to be held by the cable. It is this type of a. Imagine if the whole of this region would have been like that. That was the nature of the bridge that collapsed in Gujarat on the Machchhu River. Morbi is what we are going to be talking about in this case. One of the best examples of such type of a cable bridge is going to be that of Bandra-Worli Sea Link, and that is where you have many cables that are responsible for holding it here. So many cables that go on to hold this entire of the deck. But then it is a combination of many type of engineering structures. It is going to be, of course, it is going to be a beam bridge as well. It is going to be also a part of a suspension bridge as well, and a cable steel bridge as well at the same time. Some bridges are going to be called as truss bridges, and that is the nature of it. You must have seen it while moving on a train or by going through a car of it. Rajghat Bridge in Varanasi is going to be one such type of a truss bridge of sorts. Other bridges are going to be cantilever bridges. This is the entire structure. It's going to be generally steel structure, all in all associated with it. The whole of this place can be opened to allow a ship or a vessel to pass by as well in this case. Then there is arc bridge. Arc bridges have been in use in India, largely because India is constructing one of these arc bridges that is going to be the highest bridge in the whole of the world. It's going to be real engineering marvel. And in arc bridge, the whole of the load of the bridge is going to be transferred here. That is where it is transferred, and that's the way it is going to be stressed. That is, it is going to be having a deck of the bridge. But then, because the entire structure, the river channel is going to be so deep, there was no way that a pillar could have been inserted here, and consequently, this type of an arc bridge has been constructed. You will come to know of it. This is the arc bridge, and it is a real engineering marvel. It has branded our country, and it has been made on Chenab River, which is going to be so deep. You will come to know about the prowess of this bridge the more and more you read about it. And then you have the beam bridge. This is going to be simplest of this bridge. This is going to be the different type of pillars, and that is going to be in the Brahmaputra River. This is on a Brahmaputra River. It's a beam bridge, and when we say it's going to be a beam bridge, we are talking about Bhupen Hazarika Bridge in Assam. Bhupen Hazarika Bridge in Assam is the best example and a prime example of a such type of beam bridge. This bridge is powerful enough that it can allow tanks also to move on it. Imagine, it is going to be so strong all in all. Now, having talked about it, we must go on to know that is why is it that the bridges are going to be chosen for the design? The most important factor is going to be that of geology. Of course, the second is going to be the prevalent technology. Two factors combine to lead to the evolution of different type of bridges in this case. Pick up this case, you will come to know of it. The first is going to be the foundation in the abutment rock. Foundation, that means the foundation on which the whole of the bridge is going to be laid down. Now, it must be strong enough. Take the case of a beam bridge. If the bed of the Brahmaputra wouldn't have been so strong, there was no way that the beam bridge would have been made. In a similar manner, if the bed of the Ganges in Patna is not going to be strong, then again, there will be no way that the beam bridge can be made. Again, understand it, the Bandra Worli sea link wouldn't have been existing had the bed of the sea wouldn't have been that strong. So that is going to be one of these factors. Second is going to be a rock profile underneath the ocean floor walls and the natural depression. That means a rock profile. Profile should not be like it should not be liable to landslide. It should not be liable to certain type of slippages as well in this case. Then geological structure of the country rock, that means on which the bridge rests. Country rock, that means the host rock on which the bridge has been actually made. And the most important part, it should not endanger the stability of the piers and the abutments. Piers, that means the pillars, abutments on which the bridge is going to be resting. That is the geological structure. If the bridge lies across a river channel, then the river should not go on to flow so fast as to create a certain type of an erosion in this case. For example, take the case here. This is one of those type of rivers that is going to be fast enough, which is going to be carrying a lot of boulders. And if it is that it is going to be carrying so much amount of boulders, then in such type of cases, all these boulders will have a natural tendency to allow the entire thing to collapse as well. In this case, that is, let's say that is if the Brahmaputra bridge has been made, and if the Brahmaputra bridge has been made, that is Bhupen Hazarika bridge, and the river would have been very fast flowing with a lot of boulders, cobbles, then it would have collided with the piers and that would have allowed it to collapse in this case. Having talked about it, now you can understand why is it that the bridge is generally going to collapse. One of the most important factors in this case is going to be that is the severity of the winds in this case. That is, when the bridge is going to be hit by a very high velocity wind, then structurally it may be too rigid to withstand that. What the bridge goes on doing that, it starts swaying and then sways up and down. One of these portions sways here and there, and then a fatigue sets in. That means all the rivets become closer, they become loose, and at one time they go to give way. Other is, of course, 1 out of every 9 bridge in any country is likely to be considered to be structurally deficient. That means there must be some structural deficiency, and it is liable to collapse, it is liable to fall down as well. Floods can be a factor, and when we say floods can be a factor, that means if the flood waters are very, very fast, as you have seen it, you must have seen it in several of these pictures now with the internet being so prevalent, floods being so prevalent, what will happen is that the debris will forcefully push against the bridge. And if the debris are going to be forcefully pushing against the bridge, the foundation will be washed away. Then unanticipated structural and design related issue, like the Sigma Bridge in Hong Kong is among the largest suspension bridge in the world, and it's built on a experience it is built in a place where earthquakes come, where extreme winds are going to be there. But what has happened with this bridge is that let's say if an earthquake was going to come to the extent of 7 on the Richter scale, then the bridge has been made to withstand 9. If the winds are going to be affecting it at the speed of 240 kilometers per hour, then the bridge has been made to withstand 340 kilometers of a wind speed as well in this case. Now that becomes a factor in this region. That is how exactly they are not liable to collapse or fall as well. Bridges can fall because of accidents as well. And when we say that bridges can go to fall because of accident, maybe a truck has met an accident, maybe there is a ship that is going underneath, and this ship that is going underneath will go on to collide with the bridge. It may go on to bend the bridge. It may go on to allow the whole of the structure to become destable. That is a factor. There are some bridges which never go on to get completed at all because they fall during the make-up time itself. That means while they are being constructed, they go on to fail. So some of them go on to fail immediately after completion as well. And then you come to know that there have been many factors which have been largely responsible for such type of region. There can be fires, which can be a much contributor to bridge failure as well. And fires can go on to do is that, for example, if this is a steel structure, fires can go on to melt the steel, and these bridges are likely to collapse. Some of the earthquakes can be devastating in this region, and that is why, let's say, if some type of a collision takes place, an earthquake takes place, then both of these pillars are likely to collapse in this case. There are, of course, other aspects, other factors. Other factors means essentially we are going to be talking about bridges that are likely to collapse when they are unable to balance forces, because it's a balance of forces that is responsible for holding the bridge in that place. And this balance of force can be upset even by a single rivet. Can you imagine it? It's like loosening the nut of a tire in one place. And if the single rivet also has been, so what will happen is that will going to lead a cascading effect. That means a lot of effect, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And so many of these cascading effects will take place that one after the other, the bridge will start getting weakened. Can you imagine? Only one rivet can go on to break the whole of the bridge. It can be weakness and fatigue. For example, if a bridge is made for handling certain things like it's 100 cars, and it all of a sudden goes on to have 200 trucks. What happens is one truck, a heavy truck goes and it goes on to get depressed. Then it goes on to get elevated. It's like a stress and a strain, one stress and strain keeps on taking place. And this is because of uploading and downloading, due to loading and uploading, downloading of sorts, and that is responsible for fatigue. That allows the bridges to collapse. There can be a rusted rope as well. That may have been a factor with the Morbi bridge. That means the ropes may have been rusted in this case. Then there are going to be design defects. And when we are going to be talking about design defects, there can be a variety of type of factors associated with design that will going to lead to it. And this is largely because it may not have been in consonance with the underlying structure. Now take an example of this region. We are going to be talking about this is the bridge. The whole of this place is going to be a bridge that is the top deck of it. These are the two piers associated with it. Now, one is here, another is here. And this is liable to move. Liable to move, that means the abutment B, this abutment B, it rests on a stable slope. While abutment A, this is the one that rests on an unstable slope and it is likely to slide. If it goes on to slide, then this pier is going to be broken. The bridge is bound to collapse in this case. With respect to the Morbi bridge, certain things has happened. One of course is that going to be that factor is all of these cables may have been rusted. And when we say they have been rusted, because this is an old bridge, this was an old bridge, and it was existing for so long a time, rusting has been pretty normal in this region. So some people who were responsible for refurbishing it, they may not have been able to take care of it. And of course, you know that even if they would not have been able to take care of it, who else but bureaucrats? Bureaucrats would have passed it. Of course, they are the biggest villains in some type of cases. That is, they allow a lot of things to happen in this case. That is going to be one. It could have been one of the straightforward structural damage. The material fracture or something like a joint that may have got itself loosened as well. In this case, that is going to be one factor. Second have been, it may have been poorly designed. Now, of course, it was poorly designed because it was 143 years old also. A good number of these joints may have been loose, and that led to a cascading sequence of failures that ended in such type of a catastrophe. The chances that resonance or aeroplastic flutter took place, that looks very, very remote, largely because the wind speed in these regions were not very high. But the more important factor was that there was overcrowding. And overcrowding means there is no doubt that there was no overcrowding. It's completely understood. There was overcrowding. And in this overcrowding, as you may have seen the pictures and pictures associated with it, you know it, that is, there were going to be a good number of people who were responsible for shaking it as well. And we are going to be talking about aerodynamic, aeroelastic flutter has been completely ruled out. Aerodynamic instability is completely ruled out. So what may have been there? The material fracture may have been there. The failure of a joint may have been there. Design, of course, was going to be poor in this case. And ultimately, when you're going to take a look at it, you will come to understand of it. That is what may have been the most important of this factor associated with it. That is, if you have seen the pictures, you may have realized that all of these cables, these were the cables, these people started shaking. And the shaking of it ultimately led to the collapse of it. It is one shaking, another shaking, and ultimately what happened was that the bridge fell, the bridge collapsed. Now, that may have been a factor associated with people deliberately trying to do that, and there are people who have a lot of antipathy towards the country who may have done that. There is another possibility that the whole of the bridge has become so cold, so old, that there had been rusting and it was not able to bear the load of the number of people in this region. So the end result has been the loss of life. There are many bridges in the country which may go on to experience the same type of a thing. That means they may go on to experience a loss of life. They may go on to experience such type of accidents. And the basic idea behind discussion of all of it had been that you must go on to know why is it that the bridges are constructed, why is it that the designs are differentiated, and Why is it that, and how is it that they can go to collapse? Morbi is going to be a lesson of such a type of a city which has seen a devastation in 1979. This was a second repetition. Not too many people are going to be forgetting it so easily. And particularly if it comes to light that it may have been because of a stress, because of fatigue, or maybe because of a fatigue that had been excavated, that had been aggravated, that had been exaggerated by the people who were shaking the cables, and they had a deliberate intention in allowing it to collapse. It will indeed be a very, very big tragedy.
To have more such discussion and analysis, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. And if you like the video, please do not forget to hit the like button so that we get inspired to give more such discussions in the coming future.